going on, y'all? Welcome back to LUMIX Live. I know, 2 streams in 1 week. But yeah, we're trying to get back into the normal schedule here on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Although now, after seeing some of the various different analytics of what we've had for Tuesday's stream, maybe I might consider moving these streams. They're always open to kind of scheduling and planning and stuff like that, so let us know down in the chat, or actually down in the commentary after the video goes live. Let us know if you would be interested in a different time of the week to have these broadcasts being done. Because, we're always up to, changing and fitting what works best for all of you with these broadcasts. For those that have not joined these before, these are weekly broadcasts that we do here at LUMIX USA to have conversations with y'all, to hopefully get some clarity on products, to walk through what we've added in various different things. Like today, we're going to be talking about the S9 and actually going through the menus. I've got it hooked up so we can walk through, get you guys various different pieces of information about it. And then, that's really what the kind of goal here is. It's for you to be able to have a platform to directly communicate back to LUMIX. Your comments on maybe things that you like, comments on maybe things that you don't like, things that you want to see us do in the future. If you've got those kinds of comments, definitely drop it down in the chat. And actually, Jim, that's a very good idea. I always tend to forget that we have the polls here. Are you interested in a different... Geez, I can't type today. Day of the week for LUMIX Live instead of Thursdays. Nope, not adding in another option. We're going to remove that. And there we go. Dropped a poll in the chat for everybody. So, there's a poll there. If you feel like you want to see us do these on a different day than Thursday, let us know in the chat. I'm always open to looking at it. And then, we're going to kind of go from there. So, in general, like I said, these are the broadcasts where y'all get to have the conversations with us. We're going to go back and forth and have some good conversations. Hopefully very level-headed conversations, like I've said on the stream on Tuesday. If anybody starts either spamming the chat or attacking another person's perspective on items, you will be temporarily put in timeout for the stream. So just keep that in mind. I don't tolerate any kind of attack on another person's perspective. If you have nothing nice to say, I like to take the stance. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. That's what reactions, that's what likes and dislikes are for on the videos themselves. So, before we dive into the topic, and while I get myself comfortable here for this, it's been a lot of sitting at this desk for the last couple of days. Let's talk about LUMIX Pro services in the United States. We have the Red and the Platinum tier available. The Red is free if you've picked up a LUMIX camera or are you looking to pick up a LUMIX camera. Make sure to get yourself registered on the LUMIX Pro Services Red within the US. Follow the QR code as new cameras, in this case the S9, are added. May take a little bit of time because usually that's around when they actually start shipping to see it pop up on the screen or in the registration items there. Make sure to get yourself checked out there and see the Red service. You get 3-year extended warranty on top of all your new products. If you're somebody who likes a much higher level of service and support on the back end, we have the Platinum tier available. That is an extended version. It is a paid level service. But the Platinum tier is what's going to get you the same 3-year extended warranty. On top of that, you're going to get free next day shipping both ways with 2-day repairs for things that do have to go in. You get 20% off out of warranty repairs, so if you drop or break something like that. You get annual sensor cleanings, EVF cleanings, lens calibrations, firmware updates, all the kind of maintenance stuff that maybe you don't want to do on your own. And then you also get access to the exclusive member hotline where you can call in and speak to someone in North America. Those are 9 to 5 East Coast times. And yeah, that's what you get part of that program, as well as the welcome gift and stuff like that. But yeah, so, wow, it's looking so far on that poll. Overwhelmingly, people don't want to have the times changed, but interesting. So, yeah, kind of taking a look through a lot of the questions and the comments that have been online about, well, what is in the S9 and what can it do? What can it do? How does it compare to like our S5 Mark II or Mark II X? I'm gonna take the time, as I said, I've got the camera hooked up so we can actually go through it. I can show you some of the new features like crop zoom and hybrid zoom. I'm going to show you how you actually work with the new implementation for Real Time LUT and how that whole system kind of operates. And then the one thing I can't do because my adapter didn't get here in time is to actually show you a real-time walkthrough of the LUMIX Lab app. But maybe we'll do that in a video next week, maybe. Next week's going to be a pre-recorded stream because I'm out at Cinegear. So maybe I can probably do that for a recorded stream. But yeah. So, if you have questions throughout the stream, make sure to tag at LUMIX USA in the chat. As you can see, many people are doing. That helps us at least just see the questions, get through them, and kind of address things that maybe are directly relevant to those of you in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of go through the pre-prepared kind of plan that I have for going through the various features. So with that, let's actually start with some of the questions. William says, looking forward to S5 2.x update to use LUMIX Lab. That application looks like fire. Looking forward to using it. Yeah, it's a fundamentally different app than what we've done for the LUMIX Sync app. And I think as we see, like we were saying, that app is going to be getting, LUMIX Lab is going to be getting additional features. They're going to be included in future versions, which is like remote shooting control. So like if you're in LUMIX Sync right now, you know that you can use it as a Bluetooth wireless remote for your cameras. That stuff will be coming to the app. Just don't have a deadline as to when exactly it's going to come here. So definitely lots of cool stuff going to be coming to it. And then as we stated, for those that may have not looked at the website yet for the Lab app, which I will drop in the chat here, it is down in the description, I believe, as well. We are expecting compatibility for the S5 Mark II, the S5 Mark II X, and the G9 Mark II. So it will be spreading out in a lot of cases. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to make sure that the app is running as smooth as we want it to, and that compatibility is, well set across the board of the various different cameras. Cliff says, can you list the features that the S9 has that the S5 II or 2X does not have or will not have? Anything? ? Yeah, so as of today, which is May 30th, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, or 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right now, the S9 supports things like what we have, what we're calling OpenGate Lite, which is the MP4 Lite codec. That is the version of OpenGate recording that is designed to be quickly transferred to a mobile device. And still give you the same field of view that you can capture in 6K MOV files. In that particular case, MP4 is a more widely accepted wrapper for iOS and Android devices of varying different ages, so it becomes a much more mobile edit-friendly version. We do hear the commentary about the value of having a 4K. It's 3.8K, but it's the same 4K width. So it's 3840 wide. In the other cameras, we do hear that, and we always do study as to whether or not it's something we can bring to other cameras as well. The other main thing here, there's a couple things. The second main thing that is only on the S9 that is not on the S5 II or 2X is the updated version of Real Time LUT. So that is the ability to have it press one button, cycle through the LUTs. One of the things that I think that has gotten missed through some of the conversation is that the new update to Real Time LUT when you're creating these through the LUMIX Lab app is that the LUT that you create gets tied to the color profile. So if you have Vlog LUTs that you're working with, they can be tied to Vlog. If you're working with a standard or vivid or flat or any of the other profiles, those looks get embedded to that particular color profile. So when you use the real-time LUT function that's now deployed on the S9, and you're just cycling through them, you're picking the profile that you want, and in the background, the camera's auto-changing the base color profile to match what you've designed it for. So when you look through the community, of all of the LUTs that we have already in the app, which are about 80 of them, I believe, you'll see that there's an icon there that says, you know, standard, vivid, natural, so on and so forth. And that's because when you put them on the camera and you cycle through, it's going to auto tell the camera to change to that profile for you. That's something that the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX don't do. So you can potentially run into a situation where you have a V-Log, V-Gamut LUT that ends up trying to apply to a standard, and then your colors don't look right because it's not what it was built for. We've streamlined that and made it much easier, so you don't have to dig through menus with it. The other improvements for Real Time LUT come down to the fact that, one, the S9 has the ability to adjust opacity on the LUT that's applied, so if you want to tune it back a little bit, you've got that. And then on top of that, you also have the ability to layer LUTs, so you can do up to 2 LUTs with independent opacity control on the S9. Last but not least, with LUTs, you also now have the ability that when you're using the real-time LUT function, which is through the button interface on the S9, you also have the ability to apply the grain effect to any color profile, and that is the luminance grain as well as the color noise. So it's really about giving you more of the tools with the new implementation here so that you can really kind of tweak it near infinitely and make that particular style yours. So if you're someone who doesn't like to work on post, especially for photography, if you're someone who doesn't like to necessarily spend a ton of time in editing, or if you're just using it for its intended purpose, which is a social media camera, you have the ability to get those looks right out of the camera without having to bring it into your software on either your phone or on a standard computer. Now, to be clear, the LUMIX Lab app does not support RAW photo editing at this time. If you want RAW photo editing, that's where you can still transfer the RAW files, and they'll still show up in your catalog. They'll show up in the app, but it'll tell you that you can't edit them. But they'll be in your camera roll, so you can load them into things like Lightroom or Snapseed or Capture One mobile if you're on iOS, and then you can do your editing there as well. And yeah, it gives you, there's enough flexibility for how you can edit these if you're going to be more of a power user versus someone who's like, I just want to create the look once, get it on the camera, shoot and deliver. Yeah. The last main thing that is on the S9 and not on an S5 Mark II or Mark IIX is the crop zoom and hybrid zoom functionality. These are two things that we're going to walk through and show you how they work, what the UI looks like, and what the actual output of these features look like. So we're going to cover those as well. As far as any of these things coming to an S5 Mark II or Mark IIX, like always, I don't have information that I can share. I think it's clear that the S9 has a lot of features and tools that are designed for getting very quick out-of-camera delivery, whether that's right to your phone, into social media platforms, and then even for those that are on a higher level, like I said last week, where, you know, I have access to every single one of our cameras. These shelves back here are filled with everything that we make. There are going to be those times where maybe some users want to go to a camera like this because it's not as serious as a camera. It's something you can legitimately go have fun with. Because of that, that's why those features are in this camera. Plus, it's a new camera. New features get launched on a new camera. Backporting those into various other cameras themselves, sometimes that can take time, but at this point, I don't have confirmation one way or another as to whether or not those features are going to be added or not added to the S5 II, IIX, G9 Mark II, so on and so forth. So Cliff, hopefully that answers question. Outside of that, I don't think there's really much different, because it still has all the same tools. It still has all the same base video modes that the S5 Mark II has. So what that means is that this camera does not do RAW over HDMI. It does not do all intra codecs. It doesn't do the really high bitrate options because you're limited to what SD card speeds allow. But that's the same thing in an S5 Mark II and an S5 Mark IIX. So, yeah. So hopefully that answers your question, Cliff. Seth Miranda's here. Hey, what's going on, Seth? It has been a while since I've talked to you. I'm actually going to be in New York in 2 weeks. Ulrich says, it's Germany, it's 8 p.m., it's perfect time. Awesome. 00 Silverwings. Hey, Sean, thanks for another live cast. Quick question, does the S9 have new subject detection modes as the new firmware on the S5 Mark II, motorcycles, and etc.? Yes, that is a very good question. The S9, and as you can see here, I've got it set up here. So actually, let me set this back to a standard profile here. Well, I have it in monochrome. We'll roll with it. So yeah, as far as the S9 goes, when it comes to the autofocus options here, you'll see that you have the same interface. So you can press up to toggle subject detection on and off. I can press the display button to go into the various different options here. So human, animal, car, and motorcycle. And you'll notice that for animal, we have animal eye detect as well as just general animal body. And then for human, we have the eye, face, and body as well as just eye and face. And again, just remember, eye and face with our camera literally is just eye and face. So that means if the subject turns away from camera, it's going to revert to whatever mode you have selected here. So think of your AF modes when you're using subject detections. I like to think of these as fallback options, right? So if a subject can't be detected, what is it, where do I want the camera to be focusing, right? If you're in the full area, you're letting the camera fully decide where it wants to focus at that point. If you're in things like zone, one area plus, or one area, subject detection's only going to activate when the subject is touching the box that is being used as the area of interest. And when a subject isn't detected, it will use that area of interest for the PDAF pixels for the focus area. So, yeah. So yeah, I think that answers your question there. So, let's go back to more questions. Rhett Thompson says 24 to 200 f1, the size of the 26mm coming soon. Interesting. I think, that's probably one of those things that you would look at being developed in like a Skunkworks kind of program, right? But no. Jim says, Sean's job to turn that frown upside down, lol. Hey, life's too short to get all worked up over everything. These are just cameras. And the truth is, I know it seems to be a hot take these days, but the truth is that this is the most fun I've had with a camera. The flexibility I have, I love being able to send this stuff right to my phone automatically because we have the auto transfer in the background. It has geotagging in the background as well, so it uses your phone's geolocation info to tag everything. So being able to just capture a bunch of photos and have them being sent right into my phone and showing in my camera reel as if I took them with the phone, but getting the benefit of being able to, one, change lenses, use my favorite optics that I want on it. So like the 100mm 2.8 macro is hands down one of my favorite street photography lenses so far. But then also be able to do things like that open gate light option where, I want to make a quick reel of, say, like when I was in Osaka, we were at a tea ceremony. And being able to capture that in open gate, throw it into the app, or have it in the app automatically by the time everything's done and we're, putting our shoes back on to walk outside, knowing that I can then just go into LUMIX Lab, crop a vertical out of it, export it, and have it up on social was like, it's the part of the creative side that I was so excited about what I captured. I was so excited about the photos that I captured in the video. Being able to take those images, not have to even think about it, they're on my phone already, to then be posting online and share with the world. That's what brought fun to me. And hopefully those of you that are still on the fence trying to determine whether or not this is a camera for you, hopefully as soon as they become available in stores, if you're in the Northeast, it's like Adorama, B&H, if you're in New Jersey, it's Unique Photo, if you're going into a local Best Buy, if you're in the West Coast, it's like Sammy's, and Denver, Mike's Camera, if you're here in Austin, at Precision Camera. As soon as you have the opportunity, if there's a store around you, and in the UK, I'm sorry, I don't know, globally, I don't know the name of all of our dealers, I just know the ones in the US, you'll be able to get a chance to actually walk into a store, get a little bit of hands-on time with it, and form your own opinions of it, whether or not it's something you think you would have fun with in the camera. That was a long rambling answer. I apologize. Or comment, actually. Where were we on questions? Robbie says, just picked up a G9 Mark II, loving it so far. Is there an option in the menus to make touch to focus work like the GH5? Now I have to press the AF button after moving the focus square. I assume you're talking for manual focus, where if you, on the original GH5, when you would move the manual focus box and let go, it would then initiate autofocus, or like a single AF. That was removed from the cameras. The reason behind why it was removed is because we got an overwhelming amount of feedback that users didn't want that, on the pretense that I'm moving the box so I can then do punch in and choose if I want to focus there, not having it just automatically push the focus, because there are many times where you just want to move the box, maybe do a punch in to check, but you don't want the camera to be doing the autofocus or the kind of like push AF concept. So that is not part of the manual focus experience anymore in the cameras. Stuff like that, let us know in the comments. Those are things that, as we get more and more feedback, you know, maybe it can change, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But unless people tell us, especially on a platform like this, unless you give us that feedback, you know, things are hard to change unless we get the feedback from the community, from users, from people actually out in the real world. Even if those perspectives may counter what we're doing already. So, let's see here. Adrian says, does the S9 have PDAF in Full HD 120? I heard it's available in Full HD to 60. Honestly, I have not checked. I can't remember the last time I shot Full HD for anything. I can do some digging into it. Honestly, I would look at those out there that are using the cameras. There's plenty of people out there that have cameras in hand that can probably do those kinds of tests for you. I don't always have the time to sit and run various different things like that. So I can try, but I don't know if I'm going to have time to get you a clear answer for that. Yeah. Sebastian says, interesting. Okay, maybe I'm back. Am I back? Okay, looks like I'm back. Sorry about that. I've had like the most reliable internet for the last like 2 years. I've got Google Fiber and solid internet, but all of a sudden it just tanked. But I know that they're doing work outside of my apartment, so sorry about that. Yes, Rhett, how does editing video or cropping OpenGate work in the new app? It seems OpenGate is being pushed, but how does that reframe work for video? Reframing work for video. Yeah, so in the LUMIX Lab app, unfortunately, like I said again, I don't have the accessory I need to plug my phone in to do a screen grab in real time with it. Editing is going to work just like you edit a photo in LUMIX Lab. And if you have an Android device, you can download it and try it yourself right now. Why? Okay, YouTube makes it look like... Okay, there we go. Where was I? Yes, editing with OpenGate. So when you bring it into the LUMIX Lab software, or the app, you're going to have an interface just like you do in your phone. So that means that when the video is there, you're able to literally just click crop. You can trim. You can do slider edits to it. It's the same that you can do for photos. So exposure, brightness, contrast. You have curve control. You've got HSL. You've got... you even have the ability to add grain and vignetting to it. Grain is really one more for the still side, not really for the video side with the way the app is built. But you literally just have the OpenGate footage. You throw a 9x16 crop on it, hit export, and it exports out a 9x16 crop of that video file for you. Puts it right into your camera roll, your photo roll on your phone. So yeah, pretty straightforward to work with. Same exact logic that you would do for stills editing. Okay, before I dive into more of the questions, I want to actually talk about crop zoom and the hybrid zoom functionality. So to start with here, I'm going to shrink my camera down here. Cool. So right now I've got my S9 and I've got the 14 to 28 millimeter lens attached here. And right now, what you can see right on the bottom of the screen, you'll see that I get the millimeter readout. So it says 14 millimeter. And if I zoom all the way in, you'll see that I've got 28 millimeter. Now I have the camera in the photo mode for this. What you're going to do with this is literally go into the menu just by pressing the menu set button. And for photography, I'm going to go into the photo option and I'm going to scroll up to see the options here for hybrid zoom photo and crop zoom photo. So let's talk about crop zoom first, because this kind of sets the basis for what hybrid zoom is doing. When I go into this menu, I'll have the option to do set. I can do focal length display, which means I can say, tell me what the composite focal length is, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So that's how I have it set. Or you can do plus crop magnification. It's just two different ways of displaying what focal length you're going to be at. Then you have minimum file or minimum image size. This allows me to come in and say, okay, what is the file size I want to limit this to? Extra small is going to be 2.5 megapixel. This is a social media delivery, kind of thumbnail style image because it's 1920 by 1280 in the 3:2 ratio. Small is 6 megapixel. Medium is 12 megapixel. This is what will limit how far you want crop zoom to be able to go. So if I leave this on extra small just to show you the farthest range that you can make fixed focal length lens work. Then you have set recording image. This here is going to be basically saying record images with the minimum image size. Basically means that if you have this turned on and you have XS set, it'll always record an XS image. If you have this off, it will record the JPEG image at the size that is relevant to the zoom range. Sounds complicated, I know, but usually, for most cases, leave this off. Then you have zoom speed. You want it to be high, medium, low, or super low. This is for how, really kind of more, how quick do you want it to actually move through the zoom range for you? By default, it's set to medium, so that's where we'll leave it. So once you have all those various little things set up here, we can turn crop zoom on. Now what you'll see, and it's a little hard to see on this screen, but on the top, the image now says raw plus fine, and then underneath it, it has a CX with an L. This is what allows, this is one of the indicators to tell you that the JPEG is going to be changing in size. And right now you see that this is set at 14 millimeter. I am not going to be adjusting the actual mechanical zoom of this lens, but instead I'm going to use the slider here. What you see is that I can take that 14 millimeter and turn it into a 43 millimeter through crop zoom. Now again, yes, can you do this in post? Of course you can. You can crop an image in post, no problem. What this is giving me, though, is the ability to capture that JPEG right away for a quick access to it, while still maintaining the raw file in its full 24 megapixel, 6000 by 4000 resolution image, but my JPEG has the crop pre-applied to it. And as you can see, I have the ability to kind of zoom through this, kind of pick different focal lengths that I want to have it, kind of emulate there. Or I can use the left and right direction buttons on the rear pad to go to various presets. So you'll see, like right now, it's at 14 millimeter. I go to 19 millimeter, 27 millimeter, down to 43. And 43 is where the 14 millimeter kind of stops for crop zoom. So it can be a very useful feature, especially if you're looking at real quick turnaround for the JPEG images. Again, you want to kind of keep an eye on what resolution you want those at. So if I come in here and I set this that I never want the JPEG images to go smaller than 6 megapixel. When I come back in here and I start moving the crop zoom, you'll see that 27 is the smallest I can go because that manages the size that I can go to. Cool? All right. So let's bring this back. All right. Now, let's talk about hybrid zoom. Hybrid zoom is the very different concept here. Hybrid zoom is what allows me to match the mechanical zoom of a lens with digital zoom in a seamless transition through the range. Now, when I go into set, I have the same tools here. I can do composite focal length, or I can do crop magnification. For this case, I'm going to show you crop magnification. Next, you have effect at wide angle for photo. If you press the display button on these, actually, that's not there. It's in the menu. Effect at wide angle is crop zoom activates over the entire range of the image in conjunction with the optical zoom. So that means that the second I start moving the actual zoom ring, it starts applying crop zoom. If I turn this off, it will disable it at the ultra wide angle side or at the wide angle side of your lens, giving you a little more flexibility for minor changes, so that if you bump it or you start to slightly change it, you don't all of a sudden have an aggressive change. So you have options for this. In this case, I'm going to leave it on. Then you have minimum image size. Again, medium, small, and extra small. We'll do this with extra small. And then set recording image size, same thing as before. Do you always want it at the smallest recording size that you've set up, or do you want it to dynamically change as you're zooming? So for this, we're going to turn hybrid zoom on. And the same thing in the top, under the raw plus fine, in the box below that, you're going to have HY, which indicates that you have hybrid zoom enabled. Now, as I zoom the lens, remember this is a 14-28, as I zoom the lens, you see that it tells me the focal length of the lens that I have, plus what the actual zoom factor is. So as I do this again, you'll see that right now it says it's 28 millimeter times 3.1. If I go all the way out, it's 14 millimeter times 1. If I want to change that to what the actual or what the composite focal length is when I do this, as I zoom in, you see that it aggressively zooms in there, and it gives me that 87 millimeter on the 14-28. That's hybrid zoom and crop zoom. It's a very quick way to have your JPEGs pre-cropped visually while still maintaining the raw file at its normal optical zoom in full raw functionality. It can become really useful for the video users because on the video side of this, let's see if I break my switch by changing this in. I think it broke my switch. Oh, no, it didn't. Haha, huzzah. So as we can see here, I've got the camera set up for this particular style of shooting, and we're gonna open the shutter up because I'm not worried about the style of it. Right now, what you'll see is that I have the Real Time LUT function set up here. Let me change this into something that's a little cleaner to look on the screen. Cool. And I'm in 3.8K, I'm in Open Gate Light. So here, it's the same thing. I go into the video recording menu, I scroll down to the option for hybrid zoom and crop zoom. You'll see crop zoom here. And actually, did I have this set for the right option? Because I'm out over HDMI. Let's do this in MOV. See if I break my switch now. Still didn't break the switch. Let's do this in full HD 24 because it's going to give you the most dramatic example of it. If we go into crop zoom, let's turn crop zoom off. So in video, crop zoom is going to be pretty much the same. So if I come in and do set, I have focal length display, and then I have video zoom speed. This means that because I've set my resolution to be full HD, I have the full range to be able to come in and do a crop zoom because I have all the way down to pixel to pixel full HD. And you'll see on the top there it says CRZ for crop zoom. And I can do this and have it pan slowly in and out even while I'm recording. Now, if I want to turn crop zoom off, let's do hybrid zoom. Same thing here, focal length display. Do you want it to function at wide angle? Let's turn this on. And now I have the same thing. As I zoom, I get that extra range all the way out to 87 millimeter because I'm doing this at the 28 millimeter for the crop zoom. So it lets me go all the way into that range. If I set this to a higher resolution, so let's go to a higher general resolution. Let's go to 4K. Let's do 4K 24. When I come in here and I go back down into crop zoom and I turn this on, again, nothing's changed settings-wise. I can crop zoom in, but because I'm at 4K resolution, it's only going to go down to the Super 35 range, or to a 4K pixel to pixel. If I bring this back and I go in, turn crop zoom off, turn hybrid zoom on, it's the same thing here. As I make the zoom, I've got the range, and it lets me go all the way down to the 3840 by 2160 pixel to pixel readout without having to actually worry about changing anything. And again, this can be done while you're recording. So if you need that extra little bit of reach while you're recording, you have it, and it will dynamically scale the image as it goes. Now, if I go in and change to MP4 Lite, I believe MP4 Lite should work while I'm attached to HDMI to demo this. Yeah, I can turn hybrid zoom on for MP4 Lite, and I still have the same effect. I can take that 14 to 28, turn it to a 14 to 43, or I can come in, turn this off, turn crop zoom on, and I can turn it from the wide angle at 21, at 14 millimeter, it's 21. If I zoom all the way in, it goes to that 43. So it gives you a ton of flexibility for framing depending on how you want to use the lens. Sometimes you just need a little bit of extra reach, so you've got it. And again, from a stills perspective, this only applies to the JPEG. Your RAW file stays as a full-blown 6000 by 4000 24 megapixel raw still image. Ryjack says, does the S9 work with any remote shutter releases? I do a lot of long exposure, stop motion, and time lapse. So there is no remote port like the little 2.5 millimeter input on this. When it comes to stop motion and time lapse, we have stop motion and time lapse options built into the camera. When it comes to long exposure, if you put the camera into manual, let's wait for the switch to change over. If you put it into manual and you go into your shutter speeds here, you'll notice that you have a timed exposure. So that means I can press the shutter button. I can just click the shutter once. I'm not touching it anymore. It's just going to do the recording. Press the shutter button again. That stops the recording. And then when I review the image, I have a 6-second exposure at f4.5 at ISO 100, and I'm going to give myself props for pretty much nailing that exposure. Yeah, so it gives you that kind of functionality to have a timed exposure instead of needing a remote port. I know there's value in remote ports, totally. This one just does it through timer instead. Let's see here. Chris, I'll address GH6 questions on a different stream since we're primarily talking about the S9 for this one. Let's see here. Cliff says, I need that shirt. Where can I buy it? At the moment, we don't sell merch in the US. If you happen to go to Tokyo and go to the LUMIX base, we do sell merch there. It's just a short plane ride. Makari says, the good, nice interface for LUT editing. LUT's less intimidating, more friendly. However, G9.2 won't connect at the moment. Need to send LUTs to mail myself. Download to PC, copy to SD card. Yeah, so for the time being, the G9 Mark II is not compatible with Lumix Lab yet. Lumix Lab will be, it's scheduled to get expected compatibility with G9 Mark II, S5 Mark IIX, and S5 Mark II at a later date. Let's see here. Does Lumix SNS accounts still use the Where Lumix Goes tab or tag? We kind of do in the US. It is one of the ones that's on our radar that we watch. Makari, could the Lumix Pro service come to Canada? I think we may have to address that with my Canadian counterparts. Rhett says, more sizes for one area plus, please. We'll definitely add that to the questions to our team. Sorry, everybody. Let's see here. William says, I know you cannot share, but appreciate your willingness to pass on the desires from the Lumix users. Would love those hybrid features if possible. Yeah. And again, our team watches these streams. They read your comments. The engineering team sees it. And a lot of times y'all have really good ideas that get, our engineers' minds thinking about things that they can do. On the flip side of that, sometimes there are ideas that make everybody kind of scratch their head going, huh? So, it's always a mixed bag when it comes to feedback on anything, right? So why does the exposure change in crop zoom? That's more because I'm using a variable aperture lens. I have a fixed ISO on it, and I don't have I quickly just running through it. If I set my ISO to auto ISO, and if I was in aperture priority, the exposure seamless change through it. Let's see here. Is there a world where we can reprogram focus ring on Lumix lenses to control things like new zoom features or even control aperture? I've asked about that. I honestly don't know. I don't know if that communication works that direction within our system, but it is something that we can definitely pass through. Wild says, so does the crop zoom replace APS-C and pixel-to-pixel crop modes in video? No, those modes are still there. You still have the options to go in and manually select APS-C or pixel-to-pixel or Super 35, depending on the camera that you're on. You still have those. This is just supplemental to it. So, Makari says, I'm trying to import .cube files into Lumix Lab. However, I get a message that file format is not supported. However, it does say supports 3D LUT.cube. Is there a different version of .cube? First thing I would check on it is make sure that they're 33-point cube files, .cube. 60 was it 64 or whatever the next size up usually isn't recognized because those aren't really made for the camera. The other thing is, and it's something I haven't tested yet, to be completely honest with you, I think they actually have to be in a zip folder for the app to see it. I can do a little bit of research and then dig into that and let you know on the next stream. And then, can you use the S9 as a webcam on PC and record on OBS? Yeah, you can. Like what I'm doing right now, I have an HDMI output. It's clean HDMI that's going right into a switch, and I'm using it that way. That's going to get you the highest resolution. I have to double check. I haven't actually looked at Lumix webcam, the beta drivers that we had for Windows and Mac. I would think they work. But yeah. Cool. Let's talk about Real Time LUT in the camera. So, as we've talked about, Real Time LUT is actually a pretty big portion of what this camera, is offering. And for those that haven't seen it, on the back of the S9, there is a button here called LUT. When you press this button, it opens up a new interface for working with LUTs on the camera. And how that works is when I press the button, it drops right into this menu where I can toggle left, right, and just cycle through the various different LUTs that I have installed on this camera. So I have things like film simulations here that are from an external party. I have the ones that are coming from the actual Lumix Lab app, so things like Powdery Snow, Vintage Film Style, Dramatic Blockbuster, Urban and Street, so on and so forth. So you have all these various different options. Now, like I mentioned, the new interface here means that I just have to worry about looking at which LUT I want to work with. So in this case, I've really liked this Samurai one. So when I look and I have Samurai selected, what I can then do from there is I can either click the quick menu, and depending on how you have your quick menu set up, you can have all of your tone adjustments and stuff in here. Or if I press the menu, go into the photo style options here, you'll see that this is where I can play with the opacity. So I can dial it back a little bit if I don't want it as kind of, sepia tone kind of look. I have contrast, highlight, shadow, saturation, hue. This is where I can add the grain effect. I can add low, standard, and high. This is where I can add color noise if I want it on or off. I've found myself really liking the standard for the noise with color noise off because it only adds luminance noise at that point. Then I have sharpness, noise reduction, which is something I can tune up and down. And it's a little hard to see there, but if I kind of tilt the camera up, you'll see that this is a profile based on standard. Now, if I go back into the Real Time LUT option and I change this to, say, which one do I know has it? I think thick style. So if I go to thick style, and again, I go into the photo styles here. Oh, no, that one's standard as well. I have to remember which ones are set to what, which. I think this one is not set to standard, I think. Let's go into the menu, photo style. Yeah, so this one right here is based on Cine D, or Cine D2. So then again, I can come in, I can change the opacity of it, I can add grain to it if I want, so on and so forth. So the system is designed to make it really easy because it automatically knows what base profile that color should be on. Now, if you're coming from a more old school way of doing this, say you want to load LUTs in the way you have been, you still have that function. You go into the settings option or the setup option, you go to LUT library, and then there you go. You see you have all of the ones that you can add in, and it's kind of crazy seeing 7 pages that can be loaded, and you'll see how many I have here, because you can do up to 39 added. It's 40 total, counting the Vlog to 709 profile. But next to each of these profiles, you'll now see that it tells you which color profile it's already linked to. So standard, 709, Vlog, portrait, Cine D2, vivid, another Cine D2, natural. So that makes it super easy that while I'm kind of going through the various different looks that I want, I don't have to even remember, well, which profile was this built for? I just slide through the profiles that I like, the real-time LUTs, and it handles all of it in the background for me. Now, if you're going to be someone working with just using real-time LUT the more traditional way, you have the option to come in here, and if I go into photo style and change this directly to the actual real-time LUT named profile in the camera, you'll see this is where it's got LUT 1 on, that kind of thing. So this will function like a normal setup. But if I want to access the layering of LUTs, this is where I go to the My Photo Style option. This is the more traditional way of working. So this is where I set my base color profile. So say I want to do standard. Then I want to come down, and as I scroll through, I still have all the same options that I normally had. In the My Photo Style option, you don't have the option to add the noise to it. That's only in the real time where it's the auto-linked setup. But in this option, this is where I can come in and say, okay, I want to apply a LUT. In this case, I'm going to press the LUT button so I can select which one I want. Let's come in here and select that Samurai one. And then I want to maybe come in here, turn this on. Let's tune this down to maybe 60%. And then I want to come in and I want to apply another LUT onto this. And maybe, let's see, I want to apply... let's apply something that's not necessarily based on standard. Let's do this one. And then again, I can come down and I can change the opacity of that one. So if I want that one at 70, but I really want this one to kind of stick through, now I've got a very different look to that image. I've got something that's got a bit more of that kind of crushing shadow look to it. And then I have another one that's actually kind of more of a toning to the image. So I can create my own overall styles with this. Once you've got it kind of set the way you want, you just push the display button, save current settings, save this in 2, and there you go. Now it's saved, just like the rest of the cameras, the way that we work with saving these looks into My Photo Style. So you've got a lot of control that you can do on this. And in the Lumix Lab app, that's where you can do all of the editing to the image. So you can flip through and adjust your image. The way our LUTs work, it is a patented method of how we've integrate LUTs into the image pipeline. So as you're editing the photo in the Lumix Lab app, you don't really have to worry about necessarily how hard or heavy you push a ton of this stuff to go. when you take it and you export the LUT out and you apply it, it's going to handle it as if it's being processed from the raw side. So your JPEGs get applied with the LUT much earlier in the process, I believe. And it's going to give you that crazy flexibility of it. Yeah, it's another one of those pieces that just made the camera so much fun to actually be out there shooting with while I was in the field, just having fun with it. Let's get back to some of the questions here. Let's see here. See here. Rhett Thompson says, I guess gone are the days of me turning E-stabilization on just to get a little more reach. Well, you do also still have the stabilization function in the video mode. So if you go to image stabilizer, you've got operation mode, which will come depending on the lenses. Auto will detect which direction you're panning, so it'll disable the other direction for it. But you have E-stabilization high, standard, and off. So this carries the new E-stabilization option with perspective distortion correction. And to be clear, perspective distortion correction works on standard and on high. So standard can be a really good, useful tool for some of you that really need that kind of stability. Where did the questions go? Trying to get that in. Rhett says, is there any reason that when using the hybrid zoom APS-C pixel to pixel to pixel, hybrid zoom APS-C pixel to pixel, that the E-stabilization needs to crop in further as well? Isn't there already plenty of sensor real estate? It's a good question. I haven't actually tried with the setup there. But what you have to remember is that even though you're using the crop zoom and the hybrid zoom, what those are doing is those are scaling physically on the sensor. So it's using a smaller region. So the crop zoom and hybrid zoom has to be built off of the pixels that you're using for the frame. So there can still be a crop in it because it has to work within the framing that you're using and the pixels that are available to do the filming with. I have to do a little more tests with it. Honestly, I didn't really use hybrid zoom much while I was out, or even crop zoom while I was in Osaka. It's really more of a, now that I've had a few minutes to breathe and kind of sit and really dig deeper into the camera, aside from the Real Time LUT stuff, that I've had more opportunity to really sit and tool around and see what does what affects what within the camera. So I'll let you know. Camera Combo says, can't wait for the hybrid zoom to come to S5 II. My 70-300 will have great reach. I know, I think it was either Josh Walker, I think it was Josh Walker, took a photo that he sent over of the moon with, I think, the 60-600 Sigma in crop zoom or in hybrid zoom, and it's freaking insane how close you got to the moon. Again, yes, you can do these things in post. You can crop in post, totally. But it's just fun and nice to be able to have access to that on the go so that you are seeing it very clear right out of the camera. Because sometimes you just don't want to go through the post process. You want to have that image as it looks, get it up online, share it, and just start doing stuff with the images. So let's face it, a lot of us, we take these images, we create content because we want others to see it. Sorry, my wife just texted me on a live stream. Say hello. Anyone knows that if your significant other messages you or calls you out of the blue, usually you want to check on that first. Yeah, let's see here. Next question's here. Rhett Thompson says, cheesy feature, but one I always love, which is the smile detection, which grabs stills every time a camera sees a smile. Might be good for the S9. Yeah, we haven't had that, like the smile feature or the buddy shot stuff. I think we have those on like the G100. But yeah, it'd be interesting with this stuff. Okay. I am going to have to end the stream at 2 o'clock, folks. Sorry. Nothing major. Just my pup. Let's see here. Rhett, would there be any word where you could offload would there be any world where you could offload a vertical video to card 1 and horizontal to card 2 on the S5 2X or G9 for 2 clips, 0 editing? We've asked about that. I did see your video and your comments about that, Rhett, and that's actually one of the things that sparked me bringing the conversation back up to our engineers. Stuff like that may come down specifically to processing power. Can the processing be done seamlessly? Or is there even enough processing power to encode 2 separate crops at the same time? It's an interesting concept for our team to look at. Cool. I have to apologize, everybody. I am going to have to wrap this stream up right now. We are going to be talking a lot more about the S9 and LUMIX Lab. Again, sorry I have to cut this stream short. Well, a couple minutes short. Usually I'm trying to keep these around 2 hours now to keep some of my sanity with the rest of the day that I work for the company. These streams are so much fun. Being able to chat with all of you, being able to get your feedback, it is awesome. This is what helps build our products better moving forward. As I mentioned, we will be on a recorded live stream next week, possibly an actual live stream on the following Thursday. I will be in New York, so I'm thinking about maybe doing one remotely from Manhattan while I'm there. And then the following week, which is the following week? The following week, I think, will be an actual live stream on the 20th. And then the 27th is going to be another pre-recorded stream because I will be out at VidCon. I believe I'll be out at VidCon. So, again, everybody, thank you all so much. I so appreciate all of the feedback that you all have been giving. I love how this community is just kind of lifting each other up as far as, like, this is a cool idea, that's a cool idea, I could get behind that idea kind of thing. It's really a cool thing to see. Other than that, have an awesome rest of your day, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend, and get out there and create some cool stuff. Go have fun with your cameras. That's one of the things that I think a lot of us forget to do sometimes. So if you take anything away from this stream and earlier this week's stream, go out and have fun. Create cool stuff. Share it to people. Share people the passion that we all have because we like making images, photos, and videos. With that, that's my send-off. See y'all next Thursday, 2 p.m. on a recorded stream. Later.